So let's go to one of my B options, and I'm going to present the other side of the Nico Horner argument. I'm presenting to you, Lyle, Bo Bichette. Now, I can feel you reeling a little bit from this. First reaction when I say Bo Bichette's name.
No.
What?
Dude.
That's not very nice.
Like, this is the exact type of guy that the Mariners would acquire and does not hit here. I know Bo Bichette was hurt last year. I know he has been a star for the majority of his career. He put up a 598 OPS last season. You're talking about a guy who did that in a stadium that is indoors. Yes, he spent time hurt, but now you're asking him to go from Toronto to T-Mobile Park. And oh, by the way, now Bo Bichette, you're going to get back to being a 120 WRC plus hitter. Now you're going to get back to being an all-star. And now you're going to have to still give up a decent amount to get him. I have my very, very, very reserved limitations on this.
Here's why I'm high on Bo Bichette and why I think he would be a valuable player for the Mariners to try and acquire. Yeah, the Blue Jays said he wasn't on the block, but I don't believe that for a second. Just in the same light how the Nationals said they were never trading Juan Soto. Because here's the position the Blue Jays are in. They have a core that, frankly, hasn't won a whole lot for them. They have two young guys who are going to be free agents next year, and they probably are only going to pay one in free agency. I think Ross Atkins should be fired if he decides to pay Bo Bichette over paying for Vladimir Guerrero Jr. I really think so. And he should never have another job in baseball ever again, if that's the case. So, if he makes the correct decision and decides to pay Vladimir Guerrero Jr., I don't think keeping Bo Bichette on your roster does your team any good, and I think they should try and get some value back for him. I think the Mariners are the team that could use Bo Bichette's services the most. He makes, at his best, Bo Bichette makes a ton of contact. He hits the ball very hard. He has 20 home run power. He's not lucky for you, Lau, he's not a great shortstop anymore. He's terrible defensively at shortstop. So you move him to second base. You could probably move him to third base. And you hope that with a full healthy season, he returns to the guy that he was in 2021 and 2022 and 2023, where he's worth over 4 wins and he's going to lead the league in hits. I think the Mariners could use a player like that, really. For the amount of times you just want a guy to poke a single the other way, Bo Bichette's your guy in that case. There is a ton of value in this player because while he's not going to be the Nico Horner of providing a bunch of value on defense, he's going to get to 4 wins above replacement a different way. He's going to hit his way there. And I think Mariner fans really just want that. I think they really do. And I'm also not concerned about this year because guys don't fall off cliffs permanently for their career at age 26. That does not happen. So yeah, Bo Bichette dealt with some injuries this year. He played about half the season. Of course he's going to, struggle with dealing with injuries in and out of the lineup after playing nearly every single day since he debuted. Guys don't just disappear at this age, and that's why I would be okay trading for him. Here's another thing.
Can I jump in here for a second?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, please break it up.
Are you confident that he turns this thing around in Seattle? Jorge Polanco was one of baseball's best offensive second basemen for years on end, and then we saw what happened.
At age 30 with a declining athletic profile. While tearing his patella tendon, might I add.
Yes.
Right?
The other end of this, yes. The other end of this is, look, I'm done buying into Mariners' hitting philosophies and the whole dominate the zone thing because their hitting philosophies don't work. They have had bad offenses for multiple years in a row now, for way too long, frankly. But I got to tell you, I hate Bo Bichette's approach, and I'd put up with it more if he had come off a year where he was an all-star again. He had a 598 OPS. You're talking about a guy who swings at everything, especially every first pitch ever thrown to man. He doesn't walk. He's a free swinger. Paired that with being in Seattle and having under a 600 OPS last year, I am nervous that this has a chance to massively flop on the Mariners if they make this move.
I have a way to make it more acceptable for you.
Okay.
There's 2 ways to approach this. So the first way is that Bo Bichette has 1 year of control left. He's owed $17.5 million this upcoming season. So that in itself, while coming off a 71 WRC plus and subpar defense, shouldn't cost a whole lot in a trade. I don't think the Blue Jays would have much leverage in that case to get a Juan Soto package for Bo Bichette. But I can solve two problems for the price of one here. What if the Mariners send a little bit more prospect capital back to the Blue Jays, but also send Mitch Haniger's money over to Toronto? The salaries, there's a $2 million salary difference between the two. But the Mariners offload Mitch Haniger's salary for this year. The Blue Jays have a significantly bigger budget than the Mariners do. I think they're more okay eating some salary to get some younger players in their next wave of prospects in return for Bo Bichette. And therefore, that also clears up a bench spot for the Mariners that, as of right now, looks like it's going to be occupied by Mitch Haniger. Justin Hollander was talking to the media earlier this week at the GM meetings, and the words out of his mouth said that the Mariners anticipate Mitch Haniger bouncing back for the Mariners in 2025, which, frankly, I don't think should be allowed to happen. But the way you can avoid that is if you send Mitch Haniger's money away and take on some money back, anticipating a bounce back for Bo Bichette. And yeah, you'll give up a couple prospects, but you know what? You and I have arrived to the point where prospects should not matter. Like 2025 matters right now.
It does. I'd be sad if it was one of our guys that was dealt away in the trade. But yes, the general overall philosophy is correct. And to answer your question of how would I feel if the Mariners traded for Bo Bichette, gave up a little bit higher of a return in terms of prospect capital, but got rid of Haniger, well, I'd be a little more bought in. Because
solves the problems. Solves our problems.
Look, in terms of what Hollander said this week, he's not going to go out in public and say, yeah, we're probably going to move on from Mitch Haniger right after he picked up his club option. Of course, he's not going to say that publicly. However, it's roster malpractice and organizational malpractice if he is on this roster in 2025. I love Mitch Haniger. I cannot stress that enough. This is not about him in any way other than he just feels like he is over the hill and isn't going to recover from the 2 down years he's now had in 23 and 24. Because we talked about this pre-recording, TJ, that if Justin Turner comes back, which we're totally fine with him being back on this team for a lot of different reasons, then all of a sudden your bench is Justin Turner, Mitch Haniger, Mitch Garver, and Dylan Moore. There is no versatility on that bench in any way, shape, or form whatsoever aside from Demo, and it's going to give you a lot of problems throughout a course of a season of games. So they have to find a way to remove Mitch Haniger off the roster. If it's for taking a chance on Bo Bichette and you give up a little bit higher of a prospect capital, all right, I'd buy in a little more.
They need to be faster.
Yeah.
Isn't every player on that bench at that point 30 or older?
Yeah, I mean, Demo's still a good athlete.
Right. But he's not like a blazing speedster at this point of his career.
No, he can still steal 20 bags.
Right. But like fast enough. But the Mariners do need more athleticism, and the Mariners keep telling us they need more athleticism. Ryan Divish has said over and over how they lack, that top-tier athleticism that someone like Nico Horner would bring. Yeah. And Bo Bichette's like a fine athlete. He's middle of the road when it comes to speed. He's going to be 27 next year. So he's not going to hurt you when it comes to running the bases and being fast. He's like right in the middle of the pack at that point. But that's fine. You need like young legs on the base paths that can create those runs on the base paths as much as they can do it at the plate.
Yeah. As we wrap this up, before we move on to the next guy, I would much rather see Leo Rivas as a bench player on this team than Mitch Haniger. He can do more things, guys, things that a bench player is supposed to do.